Hello and welcome to this video. This is episode 236 of The Nutrition Detective on YouTube and Rumble. I'm here with Dr. Garrett Smith, and we are updating the basic food recommendation for the Love Your Liver way of living and eating. So
Yeah,
this,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was going to say this is on my request, so thank you.
Oh, yes, you are very welcome. Well, it was about time, especially we'd made some kind of updates via some calcium suggestions. So for those of you who haven't seen the calcium, the nuances of calcium live stream, you can go and watch those because some people were needing a bit more calcium. Some people aren't, but some people were, and so we wanted to give food options. And actually, I think that some of the changes we made actually improved the bean selection, the bean tolerance, because it fell more in line with our principles after that. So yeah, so what I wanted to go over today was just these updates and just kind of give. So Beth made a great little food list that we will probably link in the info box below. We'll link the Google Drive where people can go and download it if they want. We'll probably even, if I have the word space in the info box, I'll just copy paste the food list. And the other thing that I want to go over in it is these foods they're principle based. I want you guys to understand how and why we pick these foods. So if you're out to eat, and let's just say there's a bunch of stuff on the menu that you don't know what it is, if that were to ever happen, you can look at the food or you can ask them, what does the food look like? What does it smell like? What is, these other things, and you can know pretty well if it's going to be a good food or not. So that's why, like, sometimes I hesitate to do the food list because I just want people to understand the concepts, and then you don't have to have food lists. And there are other things that I've kind of added. There's more things that we watch out for than just vitamin A. That's a very important thing for people to know, is because I made food lists in the past and people would ask me, well, why is this food on there? Because it's not high in vitamin A. And I was like, well, there's other reasons. And when I was researching the food list initially, I didn't put down every reason. Like, as one example, red kidney beans literally have a lectin in them that if you get way too much of it, it's actually killed people. So red kidney beans, and they have to be cooked, enough to destroy this. And so generally, like, a thing that I have is if a food has to be cooked to not be poisonous, I generally don't want it. So that would be like what cashews. Cashews poison the people who handle them. They have to be cooked to not be toxic. So like those two examples, cashews and red kidney beans, those are ones that it doesn't matter the vitamin A content to me. There's other things there. So if you don't see things on this list, or the list seems, I mean, one thing to know about this food list is that a lot of people who have done very restrictive diets in the past to try to regain their health, they actually look at this food list and they go, wait, there's stuff in every category of foods that I can eat other than really dairy, but the old eggs and dairy. We don't really do those, but yeah, there's stuff in every category that people can eat. And they look at it and they go, wow, this is great. Like, I can eat lots of things. And then some people do a really restrictive versions of it that because they like it, like the cowboy diet, which is just red meat and beans, or they do like red meat and oats, which we call the Highlander diet. So anyway, let me get into the food list, this great little PDF that Beth made, and we'll go through it. Beth, do you have anything to add before we jump in?
Yeah, just quickly, that you have a lot of emphasis on the diet. That if someone were to come along and say they're not ready for supplements, that's been the case for me, not exclusively. There are some that I'm using and experimenting with, but that the diet itself is something that it really is foundational. And while you always are giving the advice to go slow on the detox, it's not about going slow on the diet. Do you want to just talk about that for a moment?
Right, right. Well, the biggest thing, okay, so we have three foundational principles of like how we are trying to get people healthy in this area, right? There's other areas all about. There's mental and emotional and spiritual health. That's critical. That's not my main thing here. You deal in that realm, but that's not my main realm here. And then there's like exercise and stuff like that where you need to move your body to be healthy. And that's a huge area. I'm very familiar with it, but it's not something I teach. So just know that there are these other areas, but in this area, the three main things we were trying to do is to reduce the amount of toxins coming in, We are trying to facilitate the removal of stored toxins, and we are trying to provide the body with the essential nutrients that it needs to both detox these things and to protect itself. So that's the simple like three-pillar approach that we do. And the diet is very much the first two things up there. Now, the diet is meant to help that. So by doing those first two things, we reduce the body's nutrient needs because we are less toxic. So the less toxic you are, the less nutrients you need to protect yourself and detox. However, then for some people, they may need additional nutrients to restore what was they probably came to us deficient in. And then the excess needs of the additional needs of detox increase those further. So that's one of the things that some people do all of this without any supplements. But then there's also the thing of let's say one of the things we're starting to get into as we go further and further along in this is zinc deficiency, as an example, can be very, very difficult to fix with foods alone, especially when people are really toxic. So if somebody chooses to not supplement because of philosophy, let's say, they're just like, I don't want to take any supplements. I don't believe in supplements. And that's you can do that. You know, you can believe in not wearing shoes on hot asphalt and you can burn the heck out of your feet. It doesn't matter. You know, you can believe in all sorts of things. It doesn't mean it's good for you or that it's the right thing to do. So if people realize that, let's say they have a deficiency and the food's not getting them there, then they may have to supplement. And we have people who come in who are too sensitive and too toxic to supplement at the start. So we are open to all of this, but the diet is the foundation. And that's the best way to the most insidious toxin or poison that you could take in is the one that you think is good for you. And that's what we have so much of these days with like the vitamin A toxicity and the copper toxicity and the antioxidants and all these things that we're told are healthy for them by the mainstream. And most of the people who are coming here don't trust the mainstream. And then you're going, why are you eating the way they tell you to? Because it's not working. You can look around you and see that it's not working. So just know, for those of you who are new here, we are going to go into all sorts of topics. We're not slaying all the sacred cows here. That's not this video. This video is more about the foods that we approve of and the principles we use to pick them. But this is where you get the most bang for your buck, combined with especially take out any supplements of things that we say are not good. Those are the two biggest things. We can take out toxic supplements and we can put in the right types of foods, and that's how we will move the needle the most, the fastest. But this is the driving force of it. Yes.
Yeah, those beliefs are formidable because I remember when I decided, okay, that's it. I'm going to stop taking all of these supplements. I did that even before going hardcore in the diet. And I'm like, okay, wait for the bomb to drop and something weird might happen. And I woke up the next morning with more energy than I usually did. And I went, on to something. My body said, oh yeah, less pressure. Excellent. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, it's very important to, I mean, again, that if a supplement you're taking or a medication or whatever somebody is putting in their body is bad for them, it's only going to make things worse. So the quickest, I mean, think about it. You get to save money and you get to not poison yourself by getting rid of these things. We help people get off pages worth of supplements sometimes. And then they feel better, just like you mentioned. And then we start going, yeah, it gets even better as we detox, as we get things more healthy. So are we ready? I think we're ready.
Could I deliver one more message
Yes.
to preempt? Because sometimes people will approach a new diet and all the restrictions, and you never talk like that. Like, you can't eat this, or you ate that, you dummy, or anything. And I've heard you say so many times, you can eat whatever you want, but if you want to have a low toxic intake, here are the recommendations.
Yes. Yeah. I've joked that I don't care what people eat. You can eat whatever you want, because if I stressed over what people ate, I'd die of stress, right? I mean, we have tons of people following this, and people are out there choosing to do things. You know, a lot of people, like we talk about not drinking coffee or caffeine. However, a lot of people, because our society is like built upon caffeine being present in everybody, and 90% of people are consuming caffeine on a daily basis in the West. Well, that's kind of one of the last things to go. So if you're doing other things, this is all about the sum of the parts. So if you're doing 9 out of 10 things right, and then there's that one last thing that is, let's say, coffee, and you're doing it, it's not going to completely throw you off the rails. It's really just all about the sum of the parts. And so if people choose to eat things that are not normally on the program, that's up to you. Like, your results are determined by what you do and, what you do or don't do. So we're just here to be guides and give you, I'm not perfect on the diet. I've told people so many times I am not perfect. I'm too contrarian to be perfect to my own stuff. Like, I'll still resist in that way. So yeah, just and if you need to move into this slowly, if it's just taking, substituting things out, substituting a brightly colored fruit or vegetable for a not brightly colored fruit or vegetable, if that's all you're doing at the start, you're moving in the right direction. That's okay. Just if you're only moving like one thing at a time, slowly over months, don't expect the results to come as quickly. On the other hand, though, if you jump in like both feet first and you're just right in it, you may start the detox really fast. And that may not feel great, especially if you ramp up your soluble fiber very, very quickly. So just be aware of these things. I'll try to hit on them as we go, some of these things to just watch out for. But again, this is not an explanation video. I'm trying to keep this under an hour. So, so we're going to hit on the big concepts and go from there. And then if you have questions, you can ask them in the chat. We'll see if we can get to them, or post them in comments below afterwards, and we'll see if we can get to them. Or if we have to do another video on this, we can do that too. So are we ready?
We're ready.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen, and there we go. Okay. So let me move that out of the way. So Beth made this PDF. So thank you very much, Beth. So we have up here, this is, like I said, this PDF will be linked. Low poison food list, or Love Your Liver friendlies. For those of you who don't know, the Love Your Liver program is my life's work, my do-it-yourself program. It is inside what we call the Nutrition Detective Network. The website for that is members.nutritiondetective.com if you want to go find it, or on nutritiondetective.com, you can find it under the membership link. So that is all there. And I'll probably put this list up in the program as well, just since Beth did such a nice job on it. Okay. I thought this was funny. So Beth made this list. High toxin foods include those high in, and then she put trigger alert. I thought that was funny. Okay. So so again, most people know I can't say very many things without caveats. So I'm going to just add things here as we go. So vitamins, she put first vitamins A, B, C, D, and E. In terms of A, D, and E, those are all alcohols. We don't really think they're vitamins. Like, alcohols and aldehydes are not vitamins. We don't take vitamin D rat poison. Vitamin A we look at as just toxic, and our results are showing that that works. Now vitamins B and C, it's just, so this is a concept that I talk about. It's not that we're trying to avoid vitamins B and C. It is that we are not trying to emphasize them. Also, like vitamin E in foods. If you're eating fatty, like, higher fat containing plant foods, there's going to be vitamin E in it. We're just not trying to emphasize high vitamin E foods. So this is a different concept. It's not that we have to, vitamin A in foods, we try to minimize. We're not trying to get vitamin D in foods. Like, we don't pick foods for vitamin D. We don't pick foods for vitamin E. We don't pick foods for vitamin B or C. They're there. Some of them we try to minimize, and some of them we just don't. They're just there and we don't care. Like, we just don't try to force them. Okay, so copper. The reality of copper in food. So I'm going to do a post for both Twitter and the Love Your Liver program about all the ways that we are being exposed to copper in our modern world. It's crazy. If you are out there believing that you have a problem with copper deficiency, I'm sorry, you're wrong. Nobody is running around with a copper deficiency eating any amount of plant foods. So first of all, if you're eating plant foods are the highest sources of copper. This is just the way it is. And they're using copper sulfate as a pesticide for agriculture. They're literally spraying copper sulfate on your food, and it's one of the worst pesticides associated. I have the research. One of the worst pesticides associated with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So you cannot avoid copper. If you're going to eat plant foods, you cannot avoid it. Okay. I want you to also know that if copper deficiency were a real problem, carnivores would be dropping left and right. All muscle meat carnivores would be dropping left and right, and they're not from copper toxicity or vitamin A, or sorry, from copper deficiency or vitamin A deficiency. So, sulfur foods. We don't believe excess sulfur is necessary for detox. Everybody else out there pushes, you need tons of sulfur for detox. We don't believe that. If you are eating muscle meat, which is part of the diet, you will get plenty of sulfur. Okay? Otherwise, generally the things that we avoid for sulfur, we avoid dairy. Dairy is one of the highest foods in sulfur. Egg white is very high in sulfur. We avoid the cruciferous vegetables, the broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, radishes, those kind of things. And then we avoid the allium family, which would be like onions and garlic and chives and those kind of, all of those things, generally, especially the plant ones, they smell a lot like sulfur when you cook them or break them open. And then dairy and eggs, many people have noticed like that they get sulfur gas with those things. So we don't want a lot of those. Iron. If you're eating muscle meat, you are getting muscle meat at least once a day. If you're eating muscle meat once a day, you're getting enough iron from your diet. Okay, so again, we're not trying to eat tons of it. And some people need less. We have to take some people off of red meat or as much red meat because they just absorb it really, really well. So there's that. Arsenic. Arsenic is a concern. Arsenic was coming up in the sardine diet video I talked about. Arsenic is a real concern in rice. I did a whole video on rice and how to get arsenic out of it. Apple juice apparently can have quite a bit of arsenic. And non-organic chicken, I don't know which parts of it, but if you're eating a lot of non-organic chicken, apparently arsenic can be a concern there too. Oxalates. Oxalates are quite a topic. Oxalates are not helpful. If you are sensitive to oxalates, avoid them or minimize them. You can't avoid them. Again, it's like copper. You cannot avoid oxalates in all foods and still eat plant foods. Now, we have had people who were in the low oxalate group out there, and they were doing better as they avoided oxalates, but as they went on, they got more sensitive to oxalates over time, so they had to restrict even more. Some of these people found the low vitamin A community, especially the Love Your Liver approach, and then they started noticing as they did our approach, and they still stayed away from oxalates, their sensitivity to oxalates went down over time. So what we can say is that the low vitamin A and the Love Your Liver approach makes people tolerate oxalates better. However, if you're still sensitive to oxalates, you've got to watch your intake on those too. Okay? Carotenoids, that's plant vitamin A. Simple as that. Parts of plants that are yellow, orange, red, or dark green are going to be very high in carotenoids. Okay. Added fats and oils, we just generally, if for people to avoid supplements and then eat oils is kind of humorous, right? Because oils are just an extract of plants. You know, they're like a supplement basically. So it's funny how people they'll call something a supplement and then they don't realize that something else is just an extract and it's basically a supplement too. But anyway, added fats and oils, what we want is there's the overtypes and generally minimizing added fats and oils. That gets rid of the PUFA problem. That gets rid of the seed oil problem. Like if you're just minimizing added fats and oils, you eliminate all these fat-related problems that people talk about. Get your fats from your foods. So again, I'm not going to say you can't eat foods with fats. I'm saying don't add a bunch to them. Very simple. Okay, trace minerals like Celtic.
Could I jump in real quick with that? Just the over and the under, in case that went by too quick.
Okay, so there's a topic that we talk about in the Love Your Liver program, and you guys may see talked about on the comments here. So the overtypes are generally, they tend to be overweight, but they also on their labs tend to have higher values on their labs. So it's like everything is elevated. And then there's the undertypes. Undertypes the biggest thing of undertypes is underweight. Like noticeably underweight, and people who cannot gain weight almost no matter how hard they try, or unless they shove 5,000 calories in their mouth every day, they gain like 2 pounds, and that's not very helpful. But with undertypes, because undertypes are not good at making body fat to help soak up toxins and hold toxins, undertypes, if you're an underweight type, you may need to add some fats and oils to your day to both help keep your calories up and to give you some fats to float around to bind toxins, because fats are bound to toxins, and that's one of the ways your body can get them out of the bloodstream. So it's part of, it's not that we want to do it. It's not that you're getting free reign to just add tons of fats and oils. It's that you need to figure out what is the minimal effective dose of fats and oils you need to add so that you can feel okay and not lose weight. So you try to do all the love your liver stuff first, and then if you're an undertype, you just fill in the fats and oils as you need to. Yeah. So good question, Beth. The trace minerals, Celtic salt, we're not against trace minerals, but what we are not trying to do is when you're seeing an ad for, I don't know, Shilajit or Celtic salt or pink salt or trace mineral drops and all this stuff, and they say there's 72 minerals in it or 84 minerals in it. And I go, how many, like people know here on the Love Your Liver approach, we concentrate on like 6 minerals. So what about the other 66 minerals or the other 78 minerals? What are they? Some of them are known to, you're going to have the toxic minerals in there. You're going to have the radioactive minerals in there. You're going to have all sorts of toxic things in there because you only need a couple of them. And if you're eating food, you're going to be getting the trace minerals. If you even need them, you'll be getting them. So we don't try to add more trace minerals to everything. Polyphenols, these are the plant antioxidants. These are the things that make, other than the carotenoids, these are the things that make plant foods brightly or strongly or darkly colored. Like when they talk about resveratrol from grapes, or they talk about quercetin from onions, or they talk about bioflavonoids or phytoestrogens. I mean, remember, phytoestrogens are polyphenols. When they talk about tannins, the plant antioxidants, the way the whole antioxidant theory of health was based is mainly on polyphenols. Polyphenols slow your detox at ALDH, and they deplete B1 actually. So don't try to emphasize polyphenols. So generally, if you stay with lightly colored, the part of the plant that you eat, you want it to generally be, so the part of the plant you eat is going to be white or off-white or light green. That's the best, lowest toxin sign of plants. So people will say, well, what about a banana? It's yellow. And you go, well, we don't eat the yellow part. We peel off the yellow part. Then you eat the off-white part inside. Or a cucumber, you peel off the dark green, and then you got a white inside. So we'll go over that as we go. But yeah, generally, we are trying to eat the white or off-white or light green parts of plants. And that avoids the carotenoids, and that avoids the polyphenols. So vinegar and spice. Actually, generally spices, they tell you they're toxic by smelling a lot. So things that smell a lot, those are often aldehydes or other things that we don't want. So we don't tend to use a lot of spices. Vinegar. Now, Kelsey's been bringing up to me lately that she thinks that the acetic acid in vinegar or the acetate may actually help us absorb toxic metals a lot better. She's been researching into that and looking into that. And I've always thought that vinegar may not be that great for us, right? I mean, what makes apple orchards smell so bad? Well, it's the apples turning into apple vinegar, right? Apple cider vinegar just from sitting around and rotting. And what does wine turn into if you don't store it right? It turns into red wine vinegar, and it doesn't taste right. And then we go, ooh, that doesn't taste right. But when we dilute it enough, we go, oh, this is okay, right? So and acetic acid, straight acetic acid, like full strength acetic acid, because your vinegar is only about 5% acetic acid, and the rest is water. It's diluted acetic acid. But acetic acid, when it's full strength, is really, really nasty stuff. Kelsey knows all about that. So anyway, what I'm going to say is, like, at the start of your journey, if you need to use some vinegar to help with the taste of your food, like vinegar in sauces or whatever you're making, I'm not totally against it. I'm still going to use some vinegar. But I'm also going to say that the less you can use over time, especially if you can get to the point where you're at salt or 50-50 salt and MSG, and that's like the main things you're putting on your food, that's where we're going. That's what would be the best place to get to. Okay. So then we have sugar. This is yes, go ahead.
Yes. Apple cider vinegar, is that any better than other vinegars?
I don't know. There may be, I mean, there's more stuff in it, obviously, with the color, right? So distilled vinegar
That's true.
would have the least other stuff in it. But I don't know that, when they talk about the mother and all that stuff, it's just the yeast that was on the outside of the apple that made it turn into apple cider vinegar. It's the same thing with grapes. There's naturally occurring yeast on the outside of them that starts processing the sugar into alcohols and aldehydes and acids. I mean, vinegar is going to have some aldehydes in it. It doesn't just jump when we know the detox pathway. It doesn't jump from alcohols to acids. It jumps. There's an aldehyde step in there. So anyway, what I'm going to say is vinegar, not optimal, but especially in the early days, if you still need it or want it, it's okay. And if you're still going to have it sometimes, I don't think it's terrible. But if you're putting vinegar on everything, might want to reconsider that. Definitely.
Okay.
Sugar is added sugar. I've never heard anybody argue that, other than Peters, who we don't, we let them be crazy on their own. Added sugar is not good for you. I don't need to spend any more time on that than that. Animal fat. There's the big tallow fad now. There's people eating suet, which is the fat off of the kidneys. I don't know why, people are trying to eat all this sorts of animal fat. About animal fat, if it's in the good meat you're getting, I'm not worried about it. If you're adding tallow to things or butter to things or suet, which is just like the toxic fat that's on the kidneys. Like the kidneys are a detox organ. Why would you want to eat the fat around them? Where do you think the kidneys are going to store their fat soluble toxins that they can filter out of the blood? They're going to put them in the fat right around the kidneys. So don't eat that. Tallow is it's cooked fat. How can we make fats worse? Cook them, oxidize them. That's how you could make fats worse. And tallow and these animal fats, these extra animal fats, let's call them added animal fats. Where do you think animals store their fat soluble toxins? They store them in their fat. So you're literally asking for fat soluble toxins when you are eating more fat from animals than you need to. So we suggest you don't do that because there's no cows out there that are not exposed to toxins at all. Like that's just the way it is.
Yeah,
Organ meats.
actually,
Go ahead.
if I could jump in quickly, it's one of the mainstream trends that has been helpful because we did have this like reduce your fat, reduce your fat, reduce your fat. Us in the alternative health thought they were stupid. And but it turns out no, they were actually onto it. And I believe that's also why people aren't even more sick because they're eating a lot of non-organic meat but they're eating the muscle meats where the fat is not and the toxins might not be as concentrated.
Yeah, I've talked about some other episodes. I do think muscle meat on us or on animals is going to be the least toxic area because our bodies will try not to keep toxins in the muscle because our main survival approach is movement. We are some of the best moving animals on the planet, and so we don't want these toxins in our muscles that make us not move well. And as we see people aging and getting toxic and sick, they start not moving well because they have no place else to put it. They have to start getting into the muscles. So, and that's where you start to see when they have like Kobe beef and all these other these types of beef with intramuscular fat, where there's actually fat inside the muscle, marbling. That's a diabetic cow. That's a really toxic cow. You don't want to eat that. You're not supposed to have fat inside the muscle to any significant extent. So yeah, this whole fad of like eating more fat, or now, and then somebody want to argue, oh well, would you rather cook your French fries in soybean oil or tallow? And I'm like, you're still frying like foods. Okay, could one be better than the other? Sure. Are people actually literally going to argue now that fried foods are good for you? Really? Are we there now? So I'm not. Now, if you're going to eat some French fries once in a while on the program because you're saying, screw it, I'm going to have whatever I want tonight. I mean, that's one thing. Okay. Live your life. Nobody's saying you can't ever eat off the program again, but just don't. If you're out there and you've convinced yourself that deep fried things in tallow are good for you, I'm sorry. It's not. That's not right. So, and then cooking toxins makes them more toxic. So if you have the toxins in the tallow and then you're deep frying stuff in it, now you've made the toxins in the tallow more toxic, and then you're eating that. So just careful with that. Organ meats, especially organ meats like liver and kidneys. They are detox organs. They collect toxins. I've shown this in a big Twitter thread about all the toxic metals and all the other toxins that are found in kidneys and liver and other organs of animals. Don't eat organ meats. They collect toxins. Simple as that. And then colorful fruits and veggies, we kind of went over that in terms of the polyphenols and the carotenoids. So these are things that generally, I know people might look at this and be like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna eat? This is my whole diet. And here's what I'm telling you. You're probably watching this video because you don't feel good. And I'm sitting here, Beth and I are sitting here saying, these are the things you're eating. Maybe you don't feel good because you've been told maybe your diet is made up of tons of these things because you were told they were good for you and you made your whole diet around them. And now you don't feel as good as you want to. Somebody brought you here and we're going to say you were lied to or misled. And we're going to help you get out of it. And then you can become one of our amazing testimonials of people healing all sorts of things. So, everything happens for a reason. So let's keep going. Okay.
Could I quickly jump in there? I had a
Yes.
friend who would watch us eat every weekend. There was 3 of us that went LYL, and she was so sad for us. And she would express this sadness. And it's like, but I feel good every time I eat.
Right.
And I feel nourished and I have no cravings almost of any kind whatsoever. I'm not looking for dessert or anything. And so people are used to getting their fix, their pleasure fix from the food. Now, LYL's food is no less pleasureful. You discover that pure high quality beef tastes fantastic.
Yeah.
And salt is all you need. So it's not sad at all, but there will be, I think, a mourning period for anyone that's making a switch.
Totally. Change is hard. Nobody ever said change is easy. And, people are, this is the reality is toxins are addicting. When you think of any drug that's addicting or anything that is truly addicting, it's not good for you. Like when people are talking about porn and Instagram and cocaine and all these things that are addicting or that are ruining society, they're all bad for you. That's why they're addicting. So when people are, if you're addicted to your food because it's like entertainment, like people want like the explosion in their mouth of flavor and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, yeah. I mean, why do people do drugs? Because they get an explosion of a sensation, right? So people are addicted to these foods for the same reason. So there can be a little mourning, but really food is supposed to be fuel. I don't want to look at it like that. But what people find is, and you probably know this too, is as they get less toxic, the taste explosion foods, you start to go, something ain't right with that. And then you're eating normal foods and they taste much better. And you're going, wow, this is great. I don't need anything other than this. So yeah, it's not all suffering at the start, like anything. Quitting addictions is hard and it's not fun for anybody. Nobody ever said it was easy, but that's the way it is. So, okay. So yes, Beth just added some things here. We're addressing deficiencies and supporting liver detox. Yes, that's what we're doing. And this is my stuff and the toxic bile paradigm. Beth and I, if you go back a couple episodes, we did a whole 3-part series on toxic bile paradigm and the basics of that. So if you want to go back and watch that, I highly suggest it because that's the basis of what we're doing here. Okay, and who is this for? This is the simplistic thing here is it's for people who want to get healthy and want to follow the principles that we've been figuring out. Okay, so the low poison foods list, we are into it. So Beth made this list here of things that we've talked about. So we have beef, chicken, bison, elk, turkey, lamb, and then we'll get into meat stock and the non-spicy meat sticks and jerky. Very simply, fish and shellfish are not on here. People go, well, what about fish and shellfish? And I go, it's full of mercury and microplastics and forever chemicals. And I don't care where it is. Last time I saw a map, all the oceans are connected. So everything's going everywhere. There may be places that are less dirty than others. Notice I said less dirty. It didn't mean they're clean. So we don't generally eat fish and shellfish. If you're going to have them, one of the things you can do if you're going to do this diet and you're going to eat things that are not on it, you can do what we call a charcoal sandwich, which is where you have charcoal before you eat the meal and you have charcoal after you eat the meal to sandwich the toxic meal in between them so that you can have the meal and minimize the nasty stuff getting into your system. So there is that approach. But anyway, the simplistic way of looking at this list is I would say red meats and poultry. That's if you know that. So this is like if you're out, can I eat this or whatever? Is it a bird or is it red meat? We don't eat pork. Pork is we there's so much stuff out there about pork and like people will say, what about, we'll get to the dairy, but the raw dairy, and it's like health practitioners long before pasteurization, when people were sick, they'd say stop eating dairy. Like not eating dairy for health has been around way longer than pasteurization. Did pasteurization make milk dairy a bigger problem for people? Absolutely. Yes. But it's not that it was never a problem before. Now, one thing that dairy could fix in people is if they were under eating, you're literally drinking calories. That's the best way to fix a malnourished person, just have them drink calories. So anyway,
There you
but
go.
yeah,
Could I ask about duck? Duck is a bird, but it's pretty high fat.
yeah. Well, I mean, if we're talking about ducks raised for consumption, yeah, they're going to be pretty high fat. Um, you know, I mean, if they're doing what's the I'm thinking of foie gras, right, where they like literally tube feed them so that they can make they can make them have fatty livers. So if you know something's like a really fatty animal food, you could choose to do it, or you can make better choices. You could be like, well, maybe this is like, if that animal's really fat, if you were eating like a duck raised for humans to consume, and you compared it, I don't know, you go and chat GPT it, like how much fat would a wild duck have versus the stuff I found in the store, and it's like worlds apart, then you know you can make a choice on that. But yeah, just I would try to find things. Generally, one thing about muscle meats is that with red meats, the leaner the cut of beef or of red meat, the leaner the cut, the more zinc it has in it, the more iron it has in it. If you're talking about poultry, then you're looking at dark meat has more zinc and iron. White meat has less zinc and iron. So there's those things, and that's this is just really how I look at it. It's like chicken, turkey, beef, bison, lamb, that kind of stuff. So an elk, if you're a hunter, I mean, it's great that you can catch, deer and elk and this stuff. And if there's been like a toxic metal dump in your area and the deer are getting poisoned, you don't know what you're getting. So just be aware of that. Pay attention to what's going on in your area if you're hunting. Okay. Then we had don't eat the liver or the kidneys. Toss all that organ meat out. Meat stocks. Okay, I just want to say this about meat stocks. Meat stocks or what's the other word? No, I think it's just stock. Or if you think of broth, yeah, broth. So if you are making these things and you are trying to maximize the gelatin in them, just know, okay, so if you don't do well on meat stocks or meat broths, especially stocks, it could be from the histamine content of it. It could also be from the glycine content of the gelatin. I do not know which one it is for me, but I do know that I don't do well. I personally don't do well with a lot of glycine. If I have like meat stocks, I will be in the bathroom in a half hour. It goes right through me. My body's just like, I don't want this. And that's if I have anything too much. So if I had more than like a half a cup, I'm going in there. If I take glycine supplements, I can't sleep. Like I know it's just, if I take collagen supplements, I can't sleep. So personally, just be aware. Everybody's out there pushing the glycine and the gelatin, the collagen, stuff like that. And if you don't feel good on it, don't eat it. It's very simple. Or if you know that you don't do well with high histamine foods, meat stocks are probably not going to be great for you, no matter what everybody else out there says. Okay.
You
And
also
then
threw
go
in at
ahead.
one point with the collagen that it's high in copper. So that's when I drew the line in the sand and I went to meat stock rather than a broth.
Now, so people will say on the internet that they test the collagen and there's like almost no copper in it. I've taken collagen, significant amounts, and I know my copper toxicity symptoms and I started getting them. People will say that copper is critical for the body to make collagen. Probably has to be in there to help make it, right? You have to have the copper in there to make it. And So if people are out there, and let's say ladies especially, but everybody out there, if you know you're copper toxic and you can't figure out why you don't feel good on gelatin or collagen or any of this stuff, it could be the copper in there. And there may also be, I mean, the body stores lots of lead and potentially cadmium in bones, and that's where they're getting your collagen from mostly, folks. So there's gonna be lead and cadmium and copper in there if it was in the animal. So I'm just saying I'm not. And again, people are going to post, well, I did chat GPT and it said there's not enough stuff in there. And I'm going, we care about that to an extent. We care about people's responses to it. So if multiple people are saying, I'm not responding to this, and these symptoms look like when I have too much copper, then we start going, I don't really care what the internet says. This pattern seems to be there. So we're going to tell our people about it to watch for it. And then if you notice it, then there it is. All you need to know is that you don't feel good on it. It doesn't matter what Chat GPT says about it. Okay?
Yeah, that was me. Every time I had broth, I would feel bad. And I'm
Oh,
like, they're telling me it's good, so I'll have it anyway. But I was glad to hear.
yeah. So the non-spicy meat sticks and jerky, this is a little bit of a jerky is generally okay. If you make your own jerky and you're putting the right stuff on it, that's great. I don't know of anybody who's making beef sticks at home, but I will tell you that, like, personally for me, there's no perfect beef stick out there. Everybody's putting a little bit of paprika in it, or encapsulated citric acid or whatever. Okay, there's no perfect beef stick. But what I always get is questions of which protein powder can I use? I personally will not use any protein powder. None of them appeal. The plant-based ones don't appeal in terms of there's issues with every single one of them. And if you think you're eating beef protein hydrolysate, they are putting liver in there. They are putting kidney in there. There's no way, like, think about it. Which company is going to sell these protein powder companies muscle meat cheap enough for them to dry it out and give it to you, when they could take the beef byproducts, the organs, the offal that they can sell at, $2 a pound at the store, and it's protein. It legitimately comes up as protein, and they'll put it in there because that's how they make their price point. That's what they do. So and then whey has issues and casein has issues. So if you're going to use a protein powder for other purposes, like you want to get big and swole and you got to get your protein somehow, your goal has moved away from health. And so generally when your goal moves away from health, you're going to do things that are not aligned with health. You want to carry an extra 50 pounds of muscle on you? That's not a health goal. That's a I want to be big for Instagram goal, or whatever it is for you. So just know there's health, and then there's pretty much everything else. So just be aware of that. Yeah, go ahead.
So vegetarians that want to take a pass at the Love Your Liver diet, do you think it's possible for them to get enough protein?
The minimum amount of protein that I tell people, this is like, okay, so we're not fans of the World Health Organization. I always have to give this caveat. We're not fans of the World Health Organization in any way. They actually give people injections of vitamin A when they give them the other shots too. However, they have said that to prevent protein energy malnutrition in like starving third world countries, that they should get a minimum of 50 grams of total protein a day from all sources. Okay. It's usually not the guys who have this issue, but ladies, if you have never counted your protein grams in a day, it is quite possible that you're not even getting 50 grams of protein a day. And think about what the WHO said about starving third world countries. So if you are not getting enough protein in a day, you're literally going to be eating away at yourself. The quickest thing that I tell people is, like, if people are doing this diet and they're not eating enough, the quickest way to get unhealthy or to get health problems is to undereat all the time. Like, you're just not putting enough fuel in the system. If you want to know how not to be able to make it to the places you need to drive to, just don't put enough gas in your car. Like, then your car stops. So 50 grams of total protein. Can vegetarians do that? Yeah. But one of the things I see on a lot of vegetarian diets is, well, I mean, we're not, we're not going to be doing dairy. We're not going to be doing eggs on this. So there goes, the quote unquote lacto-ovo vegetarian protein sources. And if people are trying to do like a vegan diet on mainly fruits and vegetables, you're not going to get enough from there. The biggest thing that I've seen, the biggest mistake I've seen in most vegetarian approaches is they seem to ignore beans. Like beans are going to be your beans or high protein whole grains are going to be how you're going to get there. It's not going to be from fruits and vegetables, which is what everybody's trying to eat a ton of. And then they start looking like they're literally wasting away.
Right.
So,
Do you mind if I ask, what would protein deficiency look like over time when that really accumulated in your body?
well, I mean, we're not going to get into I don't think we're going to be talking about the kwashiorkor core where like they're getting the big swollen bellies and all that stuff. But it would generally just be fatigue and an inability to hold muscle mass on. Like if you're, exercising and you're going, why am I getting, the other thing about starving yourself is that people will, let's say people who want to quote unquote lose weight and they start under eating, and especially if they're under proteining, or what we're seeing now with the semaglutide and the GLP-1 inhibitors, they actually have terms now like Ozempic face and Ozempic butt, where people are losing the muscle in their face and they're losing the muscle in their glutes and they're losing the shape of them because those muscles are getting eaten alive basically for protein, because people's diets or people's appetites are suppressed and they don't eat, but their body, okay, you can suppress your appetite and have your body still saying, I need protein. So it can go get it from your muscles. So, but yeah, and then the thing that people don't realize always is they just become a smaller fat person. So remember, your shape is muscle and fat. So if you lost some muscle, you can look like a smaller person. Your measurements can go down, but you've lost muscle and you kept the same amount of fat. And now you're in a worse position in terms of like your muscle strength and your bone density and all that stuff. But yeah, the big thing would just, I mean, I saw it on myself. The skinniest I ever was, in terms of the least muscle I ever was when I was in college and I was a lacto-ovo vegetarian and I was doing triathlons. And I was shooting for 150 grams of protein a day. I was doing eggs and dairy and like the soy fake meat stuff and all this stuff. And I couldn't even hit the 150, but I was still like 100 and plus. And I was 168 pounds at 6 feet tall, which is not, I mean, we've had people in the program who are like 6'4" and 140 pounds, like really, really painfully underweight. But for me, 6 foot and 168 pounds, it took a guy at the gym saying, your cheeks look kind of sunken in, man. And I went, are you serious? And then I went and I looked in the mirror, and as a lot of us do, we look in the mirror the way we like to see ourselves, right? And I turned my face to look and I went, oh my goodness. And I went and I ate a hamburger right away. I was like, we're done. We're done with this vegetarian thing. I'm going to go eat some beef. So anyway, just, yes, you do need enough protein. If you want to be a vegetarian or a vegan and do this, I'm going to tell you you need to focus on making sure you are getting three things. Enough protein is number one. Number two, well, let's say number two is enough calories, because those are the two big words: protein, energy, malnutrition. You got to get enough protein and you got to get enough calories to run the engine. And then there would be zinc, because animal protein is by far the best source of zinc. It's not even close. Pumpkin seeds aren't going to do it, folks. And then taurine. Taurine is called a sulfonic amino acid. Does it have sulfur in it? Yes. We're not afraid of sulfur. We just don't try to push a bunch of sulfur. But taurine is very, very important in vitamin A detox and in your liver being able to conjugate bile acids. And you need some amount of it. And if you're not eating animal products, you're not getting any. So those are the most important things for those who choose to do their diet that way.
So not to belabor it, but with the vegetarian diet, typically very high in copper because you're eating the fruits and vegetables. And it looks to me from the outside that they are compensating for energy depletion, and then they get the fake energy of the copper, which makes you that wired state and with insomnia. So I think that's where they might see like, oh, my energy's fine. I don't need protein.
Yeah, yeah, copper toxicity is, I mean, if you're eating an all plant-based diet, you're getting way more copper than you need. And according to the people who love copper out there, that it would all be the good copper because it's coming from natural plant sources. And then we see these people start to, especially, well, men get low testosterone symptoms because copper is very anti male hormones, and women get excessive estrogen type symptoms, or the what estrogen dominance? That's the term I'm looking for. They get a lot of estrogen dominant symptoms, and then we see the tired but wired kind of stuff. And folks, you got to realize toxic things are often very stimulating. Like, think of how many drugs, recreational drugs out there that are stimulants. Like, that's, you can take something toxic and it can stimulate you, but then it also it stimulates people a lot at night and they have trouble falling asleep initially. And so a vegetarian diet being low in bioavailable zinc and very high in bioavailable copper, which we don't want, is going to push you definitely into a copper toxicity and zinc deficiency state. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an important distinction for me because I also equated energy with this being high on copper thing, even though it was a nemesis to me. And now getting sufficient protein and much lower copper and having detox copper for, going on 2 years, I guess, or a year and a half, then I see the difference between real energy and this fake copper energy.
Yes. Yeah.
And I sleep good.
Good. Good. We're all after that, right? We're all always after better sleep. So I think we're all done. But anyway, the meat sticks, that's what when people say, well, I need something for breakfast or whatever, like the meat sticks are one of the things that I'll lean on for breakfast. I would just so much rather do those than protein powders. And I'm not going to do eggs. And they're just, it's a good backup. So, but yeah, if you can make homemade beef jerky or any other muscle meat jerky, that would be optimal. Absolutely. So beans. Beans are fairly simple. I mean, we have the list here: cannelloni, navy, white kidney, those vaquero, Great Northern. Those are all, and navy. Oh wait, navy's there twice. But anyway, and chickpeas too. Black turtle beans. I don't know the color of those off the top of my head, but anyway, those first what is that, 6 or 7 beans? They are generally they're either white beans or mostly white beans. White beans are going to have less polyphenols in them, and they're going to have generally more calcium in them. So we don't have a lot of high calcium source foods on this diet. So if for people who want more calcium, or they just want to pick the best beans, then generally that's going to be figure out which of the white beans are going to be best for you, that you deal with the best.
Right.
Chickpeas are, some people tolerate chickpeas really well, some people don't. And then, the vaquero, if you're really after calcium, the vaquero beans are absolutely the highest calcium bean out there. And I forget the name of the company that sells them, but they're out there. And yeah, it's really high. So the big things on which beans, people say, well, what about green beans? We're talking about, when we talk about beans here, we're talking about the typical beans that you cook. You think of cooked beans. Green beans are kind of high in vitamin A. They're not really doing, one of the things we want beans for is the soluble fiber in them. Beans are one of the highest soluble fiber foods out there in general. So green beans, they don't really fit into that. Peas are real high in vitamin A, and they don't really fit into the bean, even though they're legumes, they don't really fit in. Red kidney beans we talked about earlier with the lectin, the actually like dangerous lectin issue if you don't cook them right. My gut never got along with red kidney beans. Anyway, I didn't figure that out until I was older. And then, you had the aquafaba. Yeah, so if you're going to do aquafaba would be the way most people understand aquafaba is, now I'm not saying to use this, but it's the liquid inside like the can of beans. The kind of like gooey liquid in there. That's actually soluble fiber that's making that liquid, that gooey state, okay? Don't eat it out of the can. because that's going to have, anything that's in the lining of the can, they cook those beans in the can. So anything that might have gotten into the aquafaba of the can, we don't want that. So just pour that out. Rinse off the beans. If I eat a can of beans, I am always rinsing it multiple times to get all of that out. If you're making dried beans, then you don't have to worry about that. If you make aquafaba from dried beans or fresh beans, if you got them, that's great. Have all of that you want. Just don't use the canned stuff. Okay? And it's a thickener for things, as you mentioned, for soup, sauces, and gravy. So you can use a natural, high soluble fiber liquid to thicken things. Did you have something to add, Beth?
Maybe just about the black turtle beans. They're the same as black beans.
Okay.
And you said at one point, I'm not sure if you're still behind that, that they are high in polyphenols because they're black, dark purple, and but yet they're a good source of soluble fibers. So the pair of them makes it, is what I understood, an okay food.
Yeah, I'm if somebody was eating like a high soluble fiber food that also contained, like, let's say, some copper, or it contains some polyphenols, I am way less worried about that than just eating foods that are, just eating something that's high in polyphenols that has like no fiber in it, like some brightly colored food, fruit or vegetable. Yeah. So people have been doing black beans on this approach for a long time. And also pinto beans. But there's some crazy data out there on pinto beans that I don't believe is true, where it said like pinto beans were crazy high in copper, like unbelievably high in copper. And I'm going, that it was like an outlier number. And I said, we can't trust that number at all. So pinto beans aren't on this list, but pinto beans I think are okay. Some people with high copper, some people, now, just so you guys know, we're giving caveats here. Some people who are very, very copper toxic, or just very, very copper sensitive. Those people may be sensitive to the copper in beans. Have you had that happen to you, Beth?
I guess I have, now that you're saying it. Yeah, I've had to reduce my beans lately. I'm taking them back up because I miss the fiber and finding my sweet spot.
Yes. Yeah. So just know that if, like with plant foods, we regular people will say that you can't fix copper toxicity with plant foods. And I go, well, we see it on hair tests and blood tests. We literally see it. So we know that it is working. However, if somebody doesn't feel good on certain plant foods and they look and they research it and they go, well, I feel better on food A that's lower in copper than food B, even though they're in the same food category, then just eat the one you feel better on. Like, and if you're really, copper toxic and you really got to research the foods and you got to pick the lowest one you can find just because that's the only one you tolerate, then that's what you do. So
That's a really good point. This list, if anyone's interpreting it, isn't the foods you should eat. It's the foods that you can choose from and know that they're lower poison. But yeah, if I don't get along with the vaquero bean or the black turtle bean, then I'm just generally going to be leaving that one out. And I've noticed things can change. I went for a period where I couldn't eat apples. I would have a stomachache every time I ate an apple. Now I can eat them again. So I just laid off them for a time.
yeah. And the other thing about, okay, so some people out there, one approach that some people have done to introduce beans, let's say you don't have much beans in your diet right now and you're going, can I put them in? An approach that I heard that made sense to me was just like add 2 tablespoons of beans to your diet per day for like 2 weeks. And that should get your gut biome enough to start adapting to the beans, and also not give you, if you were going to get lots of gas or something from beans, it's not too much that you're going to have too much gas. And then you can start increasing after the 2 weeks. So if you want to introduce beans and see how it goes, like if you only have beans every once in a while, you're going to fart. The magical fruit joke, it's true. If you start having them regularly, you will have a lot less gas. Mm-hmm. And the other thing about beans in general is don't have them with a lot of fat or really fatty foods. They just won't digest very well together. They just don't get along very well in your gut. So that's just something to think about. Okay, so let's go to grains. Generally, the list of grains. There are people out there now. I'm just going to add this. Sue Baker on YouTube is talking a lot about freshly milled wheat and making breads out of freshly milled organic wheat. I have no issue with that. If we're looking at whole grains, there's not a lot that I have issues with any of them. So we got spelt and oats. Oats are one of the highest soluble fiber grains. That's why we like it. You need to get them organic. Or they have like I think they have oats now that are not necessarily organic, but they're glyphosate free. They had to like certify the land that they're grown on as being no glyphosate sprayed for like 3 years. So it's really important since oats soak up toxins and beans too. The soluble fiber grabs onto toxins. You want to get them as clean as possible. So organic is the minimum. Okay. So oats and barley, those are the two highest soluble fiber grains. Those high soluble fiber can be too much for some people in the early days or at any point. Some people your fiber needs can change, your gut can change. So you may at some points need more soluble fiber or less. Listen to your body. Oats and barley are the two highest soluble fiber grains. Barley, I think, was 14 total grams of fiber per serving. Barley, I call it the black belt of grains because it has so much fiber in it. Now, what I mean by that, it doesn't mean for you to go out and some of you are overachievers and you go, oh, it's the black belt of grains. I'm going to eat that one all day long every day. And you go, I'm saying that because if you're coming into the Love Your Liver program as a white belt and you want to go and challenge the black belt, you're going to get your butt kicked. So it's tons of insoluble fiber and there's a lot of soluble fiber in it too. So I'm saying if you're going to do barley, like if you do great on barley off the bat, awesome. But if you're going to introduce barley and you've never had it before, be aware that it's like the strongest grain in terms of detox out there. So if you start feeling not good on it, it's not it is the barley's fault. It's your job to recognize it and adjust accordingly. So oats are great. Spelt, wheat, just again, all organic. Rice. Now we have a whole video in the Love Your Liver program about how to prepare rice. Actually, I did a live stream on it too. We have a whole live stream on how to prepare it. Soaking it in some charcoal water is like what I think it seems to be the best out of all the approaches. Like 20-minute soak and a teaspoon or more of charcoal. Stir it up a couple times during. The arsenic on hair tests becomes like not an issue. But if you eat a lot of rice without cooking it special ways to reduce the arsenic, and running the sink water through the rice until it runs clear does not get rid of all the arsenic. I'm sorry, it doesn't. It's better than nothing, but it's not good enough. So, multiple approaches to do that. But yeah, if you're going to eat rice and you're not getting the Lotus Foods rice, they actually show testing on their arsenic. It is very low arsenic and it costs accordingly. Like it's the lowest arsenic rice out there. So you don't have to do you don't have to do all the extra stuff to it if you don't want. But you got to pay for that. You pay for convenience, right? So just know there's multiple ways of getting the rice out of arsenic, or the arsenic out of rice. But just pay attention to it. Don't disregard this. I think one of the issues that some of the people who did the prison diet, the red meat and beans and rice approach, two of the issues that I think they ran into over time was zinc deficiency and arsenic toxicity because they weren't doing anything to their rice. And then there's also potentially iron overload because they might have been eating red meat 3 times a day. And as that one individual person couldn't handle that much iron every day for that long. So these are why we test people in our testing and consultation packages to look at this stuff. So we can say, I've had people they've had high ferritin the whole time. It didn't want to come down. Once I told them like, maybe don't eat red meat like every day. And they fix that. And then all of a sudden their ferritin comes down into range just because they were on too much red meat for them. So be aware of that. Comments. Sorry, go ahead.
Quick question about rice, brown versus white. In the health world, they always say eat the brown rice. And now I almost exclusively eat white rice. I notice it's better for me anyway.
Yeah, that's one of those arguments or debates that I don't really, I'm going to still say, the arsenic, people will say the arsenic's in the in the rice bran, the brown part. Well, I had a guy, he ate the same brand of rice, but he ate their white rice and he ate their brown rice. And he did a month on white rice and then he took a month off. And he did a month of white rice. He tested before and after the white rice. And then for arsenic, he did a month off. And then he did a month where he tested before and after on the brown rice. Both organic, same company. People would think that his arsenic was going to be higher from the brown rice. They would assume that. His arsenic was higher from the white rice.
Ah,
And I saw this and I saw his tests and I was like, wow, thank you for doing this. Like, all I'm saying is don't trust your rice. Like, if you don't want to eat rice, don't eat it. I don't eat much rice at all. About the only time I eat rice is like when my son wants to go to Chipotle once in a while, and I'll eat rice and I'll eat tons of beans there and I'll get my protein and it's not a perfect meal, but it's, what are you gonna do? Never take your kids out to eat? I mean, really. So, but if you're going out to eat, that's a decent choice in terms of in alignment with us, but they're not going to prepare the rice the way we want it. The beans are not going to be, nothing's organic, any of that stuff. So, I don't get too much into the brown or white rice. I would say just, you need to prep it properly. And then whatever one feels better to you. That would be that.
also,
Sorry, go ahead.
quick question about sprouted grains, because that's come in fashion. Now you can go to Costco and get a whole bag of sprouted flour. Darn it.
Sprouted grains. So the term, if you want to look in the research, the term for sprouting in the research is germination or germinating. And when do plants start making carotenoids, aka plant vitamin A? They start making that when they start sprouting. So that's when they start. That's when they start making their toxins, to survive, so that things, eat them less. So I don't tend to think that, all the people I've seen who obsess over eating sprouted foods, they look like they're starving to me. They honestly look like they're starving to me. And so I go, we all have an instinctual ability to look at people and kind of look at them and go, that looks healthy or that doesn't. You can look at people and they can be underweight and you look at them and you go, well, that doesn't look healthy. And then people can be overweight and you look at them and you go, that doesn't look healthy. Like we are getting a little skewed because everybody's gaining so much weight. So we are starting to think that excessive weight is now becoming normalized. And it's only when people are really big that it's a problem. And people are just getting bigger in general because of nutrition and other stuff like that, over nutrition. But anyway. Yeah, I would not push the sprouted thing. I'm not against it too much, but I would not go, again, we wouldn't go searching for it.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Sorry. One more thing that complicates the flour products is that they're mostly fortified by law in many places. And you don't want that.
We don't want fortified flour. We don't want the folic acid. Avoid folic acid in everything. Supplements, fortified flours, like anything fortified. I mean, they're now fortifying, they fortify dairy with vitamin A and vitamin D. If you're seeing things that are fortified, and generally like sports drinks are all fortified, like that's by definition, it's just water with a bunch of stuff put in it. So avoid added stuff to foods, even if it's like vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E. Lost you. Beth, your camera went out. There you are.
I'm still here. I'm just going in the dark. I had to turn a light on. So.
Okay, no problem. No, I was like, oh no, you left. But anyway, yes, fortified stuff, avoid it. That's a general rule. But a lot of places are requiring that flours are fortified. There's even I went over it in the UK. They may start requiring that flours are fortified with calcium carbonate. So we're trying to tell you that vitamin A causes calcium problems, vitamin D supplements causes calcium problems, and so how could we pour gasoline on a calcium problem fire? Eat more calcium. Fortify your foods with calcium. So if you can find, like, as an example, these are trade-offs, right? Something that I noticed in the Whole Foods by me, there's a local bakery that they sell their breads, and it's only like, what is it, the 4-ingredient bread? And it's made with non-fortified flour, but it's not organic. So You know, do you want this? Which one's more important to you? If you this is a reality of where this is the where the world is going, folks. At some point, you may not be able to get the foods that you want easily that fits all of your boxes. So then you have to pick which boxes are important. And you can ask me what I think, and I'll give you what I think, but I'm not, this is going to be like new ground. This is going to be new adventures into what are we trying to avoid when we can't avoid all the things we'd like to, or what will we like to get when we can't get all the things we would like to get. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, just a little tip for bakers. They often say our bakers locally, because we have a plentiful supply of spelt and lots of organic too for some reason, then when they mill their own flours, they're not forced to fortify them. But if they buy them commercially, for sure they're fortified.
Yeah, that's a Canadian thing. Yes, Grant Genereux got caught into the organic fortified flour bread that he was making bread at home, but he got fortified flour and he didn't realize it until later. So yeah, watch out for those fortified flours. Okay, let's keep going. So vegetables. This is the list on this again. No cruciferous vegetables, no alliums, and then no nightshades. Tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, eggplant. People will say, well, some of those are fruits. And okay. No nightshades. Simple. There you go. So when you think about these plant foods, these vegetables, what's the rule again? White, off-white, light green. And peel them in general. Peel the outside of the most traditional things people did was peel their vegetables deeply. They would not eat the outside of the vegetable. And you got to think, if people were living closer to like starvation and malnourishment in the past and they would still peel their vegetables strongly, they must have known something was not good there, because they're literally wasting food if you think about it. But they're wasting the most toxic part. Plants put most of their defenses in the skin. Just like we would put the castle defenses would be put on the outer wall. That's how we protect things. We protect it on the outside, at the furthest part away from the soft and gooey center, if you know what I mean. So, celery, light green. White carrots, white. White corn, white. Parsnips, white. Again, peel them. Iceberg lettuce, light green. Asparagus. Asparagus is not necessarily light green. And some people will say asparagus has sulfur in it. I'm going to say, like, and then some people will say, oh, there's too much vitamin A in it. Okay. You don't want asparagus? Don't eat asparagus. I feel really good on it. I don't know what it is in it, but asparagus is kind of like, I don't know. Sometimes I joke that like asparagus seems like it came from outer space and it just doesn't fit with everything else. Kind of like avocados, right? What other fruit is like just a giant fat glob? like avocados are. So anyway, I asparagus I put on the list because I like it and I feel good on it. And I think the benefits of it, some of the unique stuff about it, is better than the drawbacks. But if you don't want to eat it, don't eat it. It's easy. So peeled cucumbers, right? We're left with the white inside. Peeled zucchini, we're left with the white inside. Now, if you're real sensitive, some people are real sensitive to lutein. And even peeled zucchini can have quite a bit of lutein in it. So if you try peeled zucchini and you don't get along with it, you need to peel the green off. Like, it doesn't mean like do a crappy job of peeling and you got green streaks all over it. It means peel the green off and cook it well. So the roots, when we're talking about roots here, it's going to be roots that they may be brown or brownish on the outside or even whitish on the outside, but peel them. And then the inside should be the white or off-white. Okay, so we got the burdock, the parsley, celeriac. If you don't, like, I don't do great with root vegetables in general, so I don't eat them a lot. Okay. White turnips are there, white potatoes. We'll talk about white potatoes, and then cauliflower. Sometimes, so cauliflower is a cruciferous vegetable, but it's white. So that, as Beth put here, sometimes, like cauliflower, I actually feel pretty okay on cauliflower, and I'll eat it on occasion. But it does fit into the high sulfur cruciferous vegetables. So again, we got things, there's good and bad. You cannot avoid all toxins all the time. So if you come into this diet and you're just like, I'm going to avoid all the bad foods all the time, you're going to have a rough time. You're going to have a bad time. So
Especially in the grocery store, you're going to have
oh
a
yeah.
rough time.
I remember back in the day, even before I was doing the low vitamin A thing, I had a guy, I don't remember why I gave him my number, but he called me and he was like, he was a Peter who was then trying to do my stuff. So he added the Ray Pete stuff and all the avoid all these foods from everything he'd ever learned. So folks, like, if you avoid every food that anybody ever says is bad, and then you come into this, he was in the store and he said, I literally cannot buy anything in the store. And I said, I didn't tell you to do that. He said, yeah, but the Pete says you can't eat this, and they said you can't eat this, and the anti-nutrients and that, and I was like, you're going to starve if you don't figure out how to get out of this. And I'm telling you what I would avoid. And you can do that. If you want to layer other things on top of it and shrink your food list down to nothing, I can't help you with that. So again, people, don't obsess on this. A lot of people come here because they were obsessive and went too far with all the things they did before. And then they broke themselves. And now they're wondering how to get out of it, but yet they're still obsessive about it and they're still going to push too hard. And then they come into this and they're eating soluble fiber at every meal and they're eating too much and they're detoxing too fast. And they go, why do I not feel good? And we go, because you didn't follow the instructions to begin with. You're hitting a full sprint right out the gate and you're super toxic and you need to walk before you can run, kind of thing. So, white potatoes, let me just go over that. White potatoes are technically a nightshade. Don't eat yellow potatoes. Why would we not eat yellow potatoes? Because they're yellow, okay? Peel your potatoes. If you're going to eat white potatoes, peel them well and cook the heck out of them, like Instant Pot. Steam the heck out of them, or I think even Ray Pete said about potatoes, he said, cook the hell out of them, okay? You will do better doing that. Now, if you're going to eat potatoes, they are a nightshade. Potatoes are the sneakiest nightshade. And what I mean by that is we'll have people who go on a low vitamin A diet and they're like, I do great on potatoes. I'm going to eat them every day, multiple times a day. And they do that for, like, let's say they feel better at the start eating a lot of potatoes. Their symptoms get better. And then after a couple months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and they start going, Doc, my symptoms are like coming back. This doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, are you eating potatoes? And they say, yeah. I say, okay, they snuck up on you. That's what potatoes do. Like, potatoes literally are sneaky and you can accumulate the toxins in them over time. Tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, like those hit people generally quickly. Potatoes are sneaky. So when you get better, like, people will find, like, some people just say they eat potatoes and their pain comes on like that night. That can go away. You can get better at tolerating any of the foods that are not on this list. As you get less toxic, like, you could have some of these things. It doesn't mean that that's good for you. It just means you could have them without getting your butt kicked. I used to be terribly sensitive to the nightshades. And now if I eat them once without having them like multiple meals in a row or multiple days in a row, I don't really notice anything. That's the thing you can look forward to, is these things are, if you have pain, first of all, I'm just going to say, if you have pain on a daily basis, avoiding the nightshades is really, really important. If you have gut issues, avoiding the nightshades is really, really important. So that includes the potatoes. Okay. Tobacco too. Don't forget nicotine. I mean, nicotine's not the nightshade, but tobacco is the nightshade. And yeah, so a lot of people, most of us know smokers who seem to be in pain all the time, right? And then when people start eating one nightshade, they tend to want the other ones too. All the nightshade plants have, I believe they all have some amount of nicotine in them. So there's a chiropractor out there promoting that as a healthy thing, and like, oh, the nightshades have gotten a bad reputation. I'm like, no, they earned their reputation entirely. They are bad for people. So that will help. But yeah, white potatoes on occasion, if you do well with them, on occasion they're fine. They're very high in potassium, and they're actually, in their own way, the resistant starch in them can act like a soluble fiber. So that's not bad either. But they're too inflammatory to have every day. So there's that. And then also, if you're going to have potatoes, try not to add too much fat to them. Okay, let me just say two things about, let's say, potatoes. And if you're going to eat freshly milled bread, let's say you get into that, the Sue Baker stuff. How do people ruin the whole, let's say bread's good for them, or people do fine on potatoes. How do they ruin them? They put tons of butter on it, or sour cream, or they add tons of fat to it. When people talked about the Irish eating all these potatoes, they actually didn't eat them with added fat. The added fats thing is a real problem, folks. Like, it's a big problem.
Yeah.
If you want to know how to get fat, eat high carbs and high fat at the same time. What are Americans doing? High fat and high carb. So people can lose weight on a very high carb diet and a very low fat diet at the same time. And people can lose weight on a very high fat diet and a very low carb diet at the same time. Yeah. What are most people doing? High fat and high carb at the same time, and then they're just blowing up. So.
Right. Could I also point out that you don't demonize carbs around here? And so that's a typical thing in the alternative, that they don't let themselves eat any carbs. And I'm so happy eating carbs, not overeating. I know right. When that happens too, but.
Yeah, no, generally, okay. So, I mean, humans run, I have a joke of, if you ran out of glucose in your blood, what happens? Nothing.
Die. Oh, no.
No. I'm sorry. I said that wrong. I said that. Well, I'm sorry. Let me start over. I messed up my own little saying. If you run out of glucose in your blood, or you get too low, what happens? Well, we're either at a coma or we're dead. Okay. If you run out of ketones in your blood, what happens? Absolutely nothing. So which is the survival thing that you need, and which is the non-survival thing that you need? Well, you need glucose to run your brain. Your body will cannibalize itself to make glucose. So eating some sources of carbs is the most efficient way of doing it. People trying to not eat carbs and make their body eat itself alive is a very inefficient way of doing it, and it's using up a lot of resources. So carbs are not the enemy. They never were. People who don't tolerate carbs, if you used to tolerate carbs and now you don't, you broke something along the way. Something broke by probably your choices of what you ate and what you did and how you got toxic and all this stuff. Now, the other thing I want to say about carbs, though, is we will get people who are diabetic or who have known issues with tolerating carbs. Okay. And this goes for a lot of things on this diet. Sometimes people, let's say with a diabetic, comes on the program and they think, oh, now I'm on the Love Your Liver program and I can eat all the carbs I want, that as long as they're like whole grains and beans and all this stuff. And then they start going, my blood sugar is going wonky. And I'm like, you're coming here, your carbohydrate machinery. Your carbohydrate machinery is not fixed yet. So you're coming in with like casts on both your legs and wondering, why can I not run just because I'm on this like special track or something like that? There's just because somebody goes on a low vitamin A diet does not mean all their health issues that they had before disappear and they can just do the whole program the way they see fit, or that they're going, well, I haven't eaten carbs in so long and now I can. So some people have to, like, we have people who come to us who are all muscle meat carnivores and they don't tolerate any other foods other than meat. Like, that diet painted them into a terrible corner. And now they've got health issues and they can't eat anything else. So they're going, what do I do? And we have to kind of walk them out of it because they know they don't feel good on other foods. But we start getting them just like even potentially like more purified or isolated soluble fibers. They might do apple pectin. They might do some psyllium. They might do, I don't know, even glucomannan or something to start soaking up the toxins. Or they might just do another binder like activated charcoal or zeolite to start grabbing some of the bile and getting it out of them so that they can break out of this loop. You'd want to watch the toxic bile paradigm episodes for more about that. But yeah, so carbs, we don't demonize carbs. And your responsibility as doing this is to watch your tolerance of carbs. I don't do great on a really high carb diet. but I do great on my couple of bananas a day. And I do have some other starchy carbs during the day, but I would not say like I'm not eating as much carbs as some other people on this program because I just know what I do best on. So that part of it is figuring out what you do best on. And also part of it would be if you're coming here and you don't tolerate carbs very well, walk before you run. Like, okay, like carbs spike my blood sugar. Well, maybe you're not ready for a lot of that yet. We'll get there. Yeah. So that's an important thing. It's because it can be both sides, right? It can be good and bad for people at different times. Okay, so herbs. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the herbs. Dill seems to be okay. Mint. You didn't have it on here. Rosemary, I think is rosemary. There's something about rosemary that I think it's pretty okay. Ginger, if you need it for like nausea or something, or you want to use it as something that has a spice aspect to it, that's a lot better than capsaicin from like spicy peppers or something like that. The herbs just know they're there because they smell. It's like the taste explosion thing that people like. So the goal would be to use less and less of them. But if you're going to have some people over and you want to put some in there for once or something, like don't make a big deal out of it. Like just go ahead and do it. But just think like that whole spice cabinet that you have. You don't need that. It doesn't help your health at all. So
Exactly. Could I ask quickly about essential oils? Like, say, mint is not so bad. What about the essential oil of mint? Would that be a whole different ball of wax? And I'm turning another light on.
I mean, the essential oils are concentrated plant toxins. Put very simply. Plants don't make these essential oil scents for your benefit. They are putting them there to warn creatures away from eating them. Nature marks things. It's called aposematism. If you want to look it up, aposematism, aposematism. It is the natural biological approach for plants and animals to do things like bright colors, strong smells, or get this, with tastes, sour or bitter tastes. They are trying to tell things that are trying to eat them or kill them, I am poisonous, don't eat me. And just like people will say, well, why are some of them more smelly or bright or whatever? Okay, are there people who run faster than other people? Yeah. So some people who run faster than other people are going to survive certain things because they run faster. Are there better and worse, let's say, vegetables at defending themselves? Yes. So it's very simple, but the things that really smell, like, I mean, people out there who are, let's say, chemically sensitive, they go around essential oils and they still have reactions. Like, it doesn't matter that it's natural. And they're not like, oh, this is natural essential oil of mint. And they're just like all the scents, folks. Stop with all the scents. It's not, have some sense. Don't use scent, right? That will be a new tagline, right? But yeah, essential oils are not good for you. I remember I posted something on Facebook years ago where they were putting some essential oils in on top of, they had water in a styrofoam cup and they put some essential oils drop on the top of it. It literally ate through the styrofoam. Just the essential oil drops on the top of the water. So it's not good for you. And most of the time when people are, if you try to go and look up essential oil research of people like actually ingesting essential oils, it's hard. There's hardly any out there. And then you look up like even oil of oregano. Carvacrol is the main active compound in there. Carvacrol has all sorts of liver toxicity research on it. So plants they survive through chemical warfare. So if you are taking in any compound that is concentrated from a plant, you sure better be sure that it's not one of their defense mechanisms. And if it smells, or it's darkly or brightly or strongly colored, or it tastes sour or bitter, it's probably one of their defense mechanisms. We were given these things to see, why do children like plainly colored and not strong tasting foods? Because they're in touch with their poison sensors for as best as they can be. So they don't like sour stuff, they don't like bitter stuff, they don't like spicy stuff. They want foods that are generally close to white. They know they're more in touch with it, and we have trained ourselves out of it. So, and people will say, oh, there's exceptions to this. They'll use knack salt arguments. Not all X are like that. And I go, that doesn't disregard the vast majority of this evidence. So, but yeah, ginger, I've used ginger is something people could use like in if you got nausea and you can't do activated charcoal to help with it or something like that. I've used ginger beer, which is non-alcoholic if you didn't know. I've used ginger beer, like the strong ginger beer from like Whole Foods when I had an upset stomach, and yeah, it works. It's just not something you want to consume every day. So herbs and spices, you're not trying to consume them daily for like some health benefit, because it doesn't work.
Very
so
good.
Fruits, pretty short list here, but generally where apples would be on there. Apples contain pectin. Okay, folks, people always go, but if I peel my apples, am I taking all the pectin? Does that mean that the apples are no good for me anymore? Eat the apples. Okay. There can be issues with the apple skin, like, right? That's where they spray them, and there's that new appeal thing, and there's all that. So if you want to be safe, in general, first wash your apples well, and then peel them. Or, I mean, if you're going to peel them, you don't have to wash them. So either way, if you're going to eat apples, peel them. And definitely, if you're not going to peel them, some people, okay, I feel better when I eat apples. I feel better when I eat them with the peel. The peel has actually got insoluble fiber in it, and insoluble fiber can help certain people's guts move better. I don't eat apples that often, but if I do, I get them organic and I wash them. So you can do it either way. And people say, oh, there's vitamin A in the skin. The skin is like how thick? It's not, I'm not worried about it. This is where we start to go, okay, we could worry about every little thing, and we're not going to. Or I'm not going to. You can. I'm not going to. I don't have that much energy in my life to put towards worrying about that stuff. So bananas. Bananas are one of my personal favorites, especially for the potassium in them. I typically eat 2 or 3 of them a day. I'm not saying you have to, but the potassium in them helps me have just better, happier days. Potassium is the quickest thing you can do for your energy and your mood. So bananas are an easy way to do that. Green grapes, yeah, we don't do the red grapes because of the polyphenols and all that stuff. I mean, if it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you had some red grapes here and there, but green grapes are going to be a better choice on a regular basis. Honeydew melon, again, light green. So green grapes, light green. Honeydew melon, light green. Figs. Figs are a decent source of calcium if you do. Then people say fresh or dried, and I say I don't care. I do. If I'm going to do figs, I keep dried figs around. I get some organic dried figs. 6 figs is about 200 milligrams of calcium. So it's a decent source. And then 6 figs has about the amount of potassium in it that 1 banana does. So figs can cover multiple bases. I do like them. Lemons or limes up to 1 a day. The juice only. You don't want the peel. You don't want the lemon oil or the lime oil out of the skin too much. And some people, like I know, I do better. Like I like lime juice more. My stomach doesn't like lime juice as much. My stomach likes lemon juice, but my taste buds like lime more. So just watch that stuff. Like I know if I was going to consume them on a daily basis, lemon juice is yellow, and people say, oh, that's vitamin A. And I go, then don't eat it. Like it's not, if you want to have a little lemon juice here and there to flavor your water, go ahead. Like you're talking about the juice of 1 lemon. Again, and people say vitamin C. And I say, we're not trying to avoid vitamin C. We're just not trying to take in a bunch of it. And if you're a person who feels like you're still stuck on the scurvy idea and the vitamin C thing, and you haven't watched my video about scurvy here being a vitamin A toxicity problem, if you want to get your vitamin C in a day, 1 lemon will do it. So there you go.
There you go. And would you choose say you really wanted a sour flavor in your hummus, would you choose a lemon over something like apple cider vinegar?
I think that would probably be a better choice.
Okay.
I'll put it this way. I eat a low vitamin A salad, picking like light green leafies and all that stuff. I eat that rarely. Like maybe nowadays it's like once every 3 weeks or once a month. If I'm going to put a dressing on it, like I could do lemon juice, but I'm like, I eat salad so rarely. I'm just going to put some oil and vinegar type dressing on it. I just go, I eat this so rarely. I don't, it's not, again, folks, it's the addition of everything on a daily basis. So if you're doing something rarely, I'm not. So what do I know in my head? Lemon juice would be a better choice, even with a little oil. And then people go, but added fats. And I go, come on. Like you have to be able to distinguish between once. Now, if you're very, very sick, you may not get to make these little exceptions. You may feel terrible if you do it. And if you come back to me and you say, but Dr. Smith said I could do it. No. That's why all the caveats are here. So if you decide to go, because if you're the type of person who's like, I'm going to find every single little way to cheat, and I'm going to blame Dr. Smith because he said it in the video, and I never felt good on any of this stuff, but I'm gonna do it because I want whatever I want, and I'm going to use whatever he said in there to justify it. That's not my fault. So there can be exceptions, but you also have to know, does that kick my butt? If you don't feel good on it, it doesn't matter what I said. Again, it's just what you feel okay on. So, yeah. But yeah, I do think lemon or lime juice would be a better choice. Yes. Okay, pears. Pears are very high in pectin as well. You gotta be careful with too many. Well, okay, so pears, if they get too ripe, those of us who have eaten pears that are too ripe or bananas that are too ripe, they start to make a bit of formaldehyde in them. And that is why if you eat an overly ripe banana or an overly ripe pear and you kind of get that sick feeling down in your stomach and you don't feel good, it's just too ripe. So next time, don't eat it. It doesn't mean that a yellow banana is bad. It means that if the banana's brown, I want you to understand this is what we do. Brown bananas, do we eat them? I mean, so some little spots here and there, I'm not worried about that. I'm talking about you know when it's too brown, like, or you've tried it and you've eaten it and you go, well, that didn't feel good. That must have been too brown. With brown bananas, you put them in the freezer, right? And then you can use them for banana bread later. How can we salvage the bananas in banana bread when eating them normally was going to be a problem? When you make the banana bread and you cook it, it actually cooks off the formaldehyde. And then you don't feel bad eating it. So you're literally detoxing the formaldehyde from the overly ripe bananas by cooking it. So that's why that works. It's just like how you're supposed to unroll your new mattress. You get a new foam mattress and you're supposed to unroll it and let it sit for a day so it can off gas. That's what we're doing with bananas. So there's not really a way to do it with pears. But just know if you don't feel great on pears, don't eat them. But if you have overly ripe pears and you don't feel good on them, it doesn't mean the pears were the bad thing. It was that they were overly ripe. So, but they do have a lot of pectin. White peaches, nectarines, and apricots, those are good options if you like those things. Green kiwis. Kiwis have a lot of oxalates in the skin especially. So there's crazy people out on the internet saying you should eat the whole kiwi. You are eating literally the highest source of oxalates known to mankind if you are eating the skin of a kiwi. Don't do that. If you want to eat kiwis on occasion, green kiwis. We have searched a bunch for vitamin A in green kiwis. We can hardly find any evidence of it being there. However, there's now the like golden kiwis or the yellow kiwis. Don't eat those. Those are vitamin A. So, and peel them. Go ahead.
Are kiwis not also high in oxalates? Like you just said the skin, but the seeds apparently. I was trying to pull the seeds out. It's not possible. Most of the flesh is seedy.
I've heard people say that too. What we found is, okay, so if like we talked earlier about oxalates. If you're sensitive to oxalates and you don't get along with them, don't eat those foods just because they might be low vitamin A. But what we've seen, I also, for some reason, maybe it's the oxalates, I've never really been attracted to kiwis. I never really liked the taste of them, and those seeds, the seed thing kind of got to me. I'm like, that's a lot of seeds. So I don't know, maybe I have these things in my head where I go, that doesn't look like or taste or look or smell like something I want to eat very much. So if you know you're sensitive to oxalates, or if you eat green kiwis and all of a sudden you don't feel good, you may have an oxalate problem. But one of the things we do in this program is we work on fixing your ALDH enzyme, your aldehyde dehydrogenase enzyme. And if you go and you look up oxalates, they go through the ALDH enzyme too. So this might be why, as people avoid vitamin A and they fix their ALDH pathway, which is a major focus of ours, that over time they tolerate more oxalates. Whereas the normal oxalate approaches, people get more and more sensitive over time and they have to avoid them more and more because they're not working on the things that we work on, is my theory, at least. So, pineapple. Yeah, pineapple. If you're going to eat pineapple, see, here's the problem with pineapple. I love pineapple, don't get me wrong. It has the bromelain in it and all that stuff, and it tastes really good. I want you to understand this. The whiter the pineapple, the less sweet it's going to be. The more yellow the pineapple, the sweeter it's going to be. The more yellow the pineapple, the more vitamin A is in it. Nature will tend to try to cover up poisons with sugar.
Right.
So as it gets more yellow, it gets sweeter. As it's more white, it's less sweet. You can put that together. So a lot of the sweetest fruits out there, the tropical fruits, right? They're orange, they're yellow, they're like pinkish with lots of lycopene, which is another carotenoid, and they're super sweet. Nature's trying to cover up the poison taste. So
Quick experiment that I did with kefir water and fresh mango. So mango's very, very sweet. Now, after the bacteria in the kefir eat all of the sugar, I tasted it one time and it's hideous. So it's exactly to your point.
yeah, well, it would be like lemon oil or orange oil. People, like if you had just straight lemon oil or orange oil, that doesn't taste good. That tastes horrible. So it's the sugar that they do to, so these tastes are just kind of like an accent on top of the sugar for most people. So yeah, but nature knows this, and nature wants animals to eat the plants so that they will go and poop the seeds everywhere. And so they'll put lots of sugar in there to get the animals to eat it, or the insects and all that stuff. So then we have, so down here on nuts. Now, some people in the low vitamin A world, well, copper toxic people, you may not tolerate nuts and seeds at all. But there's not a seeds list on here. Seeds just seem to be problematic. But nuts can also be high in copper. Nuts do tend to have, I think, more fiber. I don't eat nuts on a regular basis. I think one of the things I'm sensitive to with oxalates is almonds, which is about the only nut I would keep around to eat, but I don't eat it. I look at it and I go, that makes my back stiff. I don't want to eat that. So anyway, macadamia nuts. Macadamia nuts, for a lot of people, they're so high in fat that they can very quickly give you diarrhea if you're binging on them. Brazil nuts for selenium. Brazil nuts, oh, the story of Brazil nuts. They used to be much higher in selenium. I've seen their selenium content literally on hair tests go down in recent years. They grow the Brazil nuts in these, kind of like jungle forests where they naturally grow, but they're not changing the soil. So think of it. These trees pull the selenium out of the soil, put it in their nuts. We collect the nuts. Normally the nuts would be decomposing and going back into the soil, right? But we're taking all the nuts away. So it makes sense that after decades of collecting all the selenium from the Brazil nuts from this area, if they're not putting selenium back into the soil, it's not going to be in the nuts. So if you're adamant against taking supplements, especially a selenium supplement, then Brazil nuts are your main option. Don't expect, even people who eat Brazil nuts on a regular basis don't always have good selenium. So you're not going to get your selenium right from normal foods. I can guarantee you that. I never see it. So you're either supplementing, if you want good selenium levels, you're either supplementing or you're figuring out how many Brazil nuts you need of what brand works for you. And that may take a while of experimenting with like hair tests and stuff like that. So pecans, those are all right on an occasional basis. Just think nuts. Nuts are like a treat. Don't eat nuts every day unless you absolutely need them for the calories, like an undertype kind of thing. Okay. Fats. The general thing on fats. Of course, we want them organic. Everything on this list, if people say, well, why didn't you mention organic? Organic is implied, okay? We're not going to put organic in front of everything here. So yeah, I didn't say that at the start, but organic is implied in all of this.
Yeah, you said it actually.
I did? Okay. Okay. Well, we want with oils and fats, if you're going to eat them or when you're going to eat them, natural, organic, naturally refined. Naturally refined. Like it needs to say that, or you need to ask them. Not chemically refined, naturally refined. And then the closer the color of the oil is to clear, the better. So there's like avocado oils out there that are green, green.
Mhm.
And there's avocado oils out there that are just like a little, they're transparent, but there's a little bit of color to them, just a little bit. So we're after the one that is naturally refined and has less color. The natural refining takes out all these extra polyphenol compounds and that stuff. Now, refine you can use coconut oil if you need to. Again, I just don't, I never trusted coconut stuff after the coconut oil fad, and everybody's like, you can eat everything made from coconut stuff, and I just that was like it reminded me of the soybean fad. So anyway, coconut oil is out there. You can get it organic, you get it refined, and refining it will deodorize it too. So those are kind of the same thing. If it smells like coconut, it's not refined. That's the simple way of knowing it. And then butter on occasion. Okay, so in my program, I have said before that people, if it was going to be a make or break thing for somebody to have 2 tablespoons of butter a day, and that was the only place they were really messing up the diet, I was fine with that if it was going to keep somebody on the program. Okay. The lighter in cut, so everybody wants like dark yellow butter. We would, if you're going to eat butter, you want it organic and you want it as light a color as possible.
So
So it's
not
less,
grass fed.
not generally not grass fed. I just now people are talking about eating yellow, like fat that is yellow on steaks. If people take off what they've read and what they think, and you actually think about a steak with yellow fat, it turns my stomach. Like I don't want to eat yellow fat. That is vitamin A stored in that fat like crazy. You don't want that. So generally yellow fats. Well, and then people talk about seed oils, right? Everybody's don't eat seed oils. Don't eat seed oils. What color are seed oils? They're yellow. This weird pattern is showing up everywhere. So, and what is it? Vitamin A is fat soluble, which means fat storable, which means plants stored in their fat. Also means animals stored in their fat, and it comes out in the oils or fats. So, and then ghee is even more yellow than butter
Yep.
because it's been cooked and oxidized, and it's actually changed the form of the vitamin A into a more yellow form. So, be really careful with butter. But like and I'll also say like if you're gonna have a family holiday or something, and you're gonna put some butter in something, just try to again minimal effective dose. So if you got a recipe that calls for butter and it's Christmas or something, just make it.
Exactly. I never thought in a million years I'd lose my taste for butter, but I did. I
Wow,
don't
it
use it
does.
on a regular basis anymore.
I mean, the butyric acid, the butyrate in it. Like when people take sodium butyrate as a supplement, it smells and tastes like vomit, basically, like bile. So there's a weird thing about butter where it's got butyric acid in it, but it's a small enough amount that it doesn't make people turn their stomachs, but our people tend to get a bit more toxin noticing. They have the ability to notice toxins more and notice what makes them feel better and worse, and these things that they used to like. A lot of people on the program, they used to like bacon, and now they're like, bacon is disgusting now. I couldn't even eat it. I remember when Julie told me that story. She cooked a pan of bacon for herself and her husband after they'd been doing the program for a while, and they both came in and they looked at it and they smelled it and they were like, they threw it away. They threw it out.
Wow.
So this is what we see with people. They get more in touch with their body's intuitive abilities to smell things that aren't smell and taste and notice things that aren't good for them. So, okay, flavorings. This is a short list. Jacobsen salt is the salt that I've seen that is the least toxic. And they clean it with water. So people will say, "Oh, white salt's been bleached." They don't use bleach on salt. They've never used bleach on salt. Okay, that's like stuff made up in the alternative world that's just nonsense. A lot of the stuff in the alternative world is nonsense. They actually you can go and watch the Jacobson's video at their website about the giant water vats that they clean the salt in. Okay. So Jacobson salt is one of the purest salts out there. It's a little pricey. Some people have said that they like the Maldon salt, and that seems to be fairly clean. If you're in a pinch and you can't get those because of cost or whatever, the Kirkland sea salt is an okay option, and it's easily available, but not pink salt. It's just like I said, the Kirkland brand sea salt. It's the bottle. It's about this big. Okay, MSG. If you haven't watched our MSG live stream, MSG is actually good for people.
Yay.
And it will make any diet you're on easier to do. The problem is people are used to hearing about MSG on junk foods, and then people feel bad on junk foods. Shocker, they feel bad on junk foods, and then they blame the MSG. And then you're also eating foods that are bad for them with MSG on them, and then they eat more of the bad foods than they should. So MSG is like collateral damage here. MSG is actually one of the things that we've seen help people's health immensely. And it makes the food that, the foods that we're eating, which are not always exciting. Okay, they're not always exciting. It makes them taste much better because your body wants glutamate. I talked about some in the video, but the 4 foods that Americans tend to eat as junk foods, especially when they go to restaurants, it's a common 4 food arrangement. It is wheat, cheese, beef, and tomatoes. These are the highest glutamate foods in the normal rotation of foods that Americans eat. What is Italian food? What is American Italian food? What is American Mexican food? When you think of all these ethnic foods, they often have those things in them as the basis of what they do. So there's a reason you want those foods, is because it's got glutamate in them. And you have a 6th taste of umami that tells you this tastes good, eat it. Okay, so anyway, watch the MSG episode. 50-50 salt. This is something that I came up initially with. It is a half and half mix of salt, sodium chloride. Oh, and just so you know, if you can't find the salts that we want, here are my 3 rules on salt. Bright white. Single ingredient. I think it might only be 2.
What about iodized salts?
No, well, so single ingredient. So that gets rid of that. So if we have the bright white, that gets rid of like Celtic salt, that gets rid of real salt, that gets rid of pink salt. All of a sudden, the color tells you that there's other stuff in it that you don't want. Then we have the single ingredient that gets rid of the potassium iodide, that gets rid of all the drying agents and all the flow agents and all the stuff they put in there. So the silicon dioxide that they put in there, which is really just sand to dry it out. So yeah, those are the 2 main ingredients, or the 2 main categories for checking if your salt is okay. Bright white, single ingredient. It doesn't mean everything else is perfect with it, but that's a very good starting point. So.
And I'll just throw in quickly that the Celtic salt people have a class action lawsuit against them because of lead poisoning.
Well, there was some lead that was it. It's just, folks, there's research out there showing that unprocessed sea salts, unrefined sea salts, have plenty of microplastics in them. Like if you wouldn't drink the ocean water, if they could remove the salt from the ocean water, so it was water, but they left everything else in it, would you drink that? Would you trust random ocean water samples that had enough of the salt removed that you could drink it? Would you drink that? I wouldn't. So where do you think the unprocessed sea salt comes from? They're literally saying they're not refining it. They're not processing it. So they're leaving the microplastics in it. They're leaving the forever chemicals in it. They're leaving all the stuff in it, the toxic metals. I want clean salt. I want clean water. I'm going to get my minerals and my other stuff from the food I eat. But if I'm going to add salt, or I'm going to add like water to things, or I'm going to drink water, I want it clean first. And then we can do other things to mitigate it. We don't live in a clean world, so we need to not put more poisons in. We need to not just be like, oh, this is natural, therefore it's good. And you're like, no, maybe 500 years ago that was true, but it's not necessarily true today. So we have different rules today. So I wish everything was clean and pure and we could trust everything. We can't. So, okay, so 50-50 salt. This is a mixture of sodium chloride and potassium chloride. Very simple. I mean, the old recipe I used to give, I'll give it to you right now. It was 8 ounces of salt, 8 ounces of potassium chloride, and pay attention here, 1/4 teaspoon, so very little, of potassium bitartrate, which is sold in the spices section as cream of tartar. And that's a little bit of a flavor adjuster. It helps the potassium chloride to taste more like salt. So then you're getting half salt and half potassium. The cream of tartar actually adds a little bit of potassium to it, but that's the original recipe. Kelsey, on the MSG episode, in the info box, there's a link to, in one of the MSG episodes, we have two. There's the link to her super salt, which is basically 50-50 salt with some MSG added. I personally, and I think you said this the other day too, Beth, I personally will MSG my food first. I have a shaker with just MSG, and then I will add 50-50 salt or regular salt to taste on top of that, because I don't need as much once the MSG is there. So you do something similar?
Very good. Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah. Tamari. Tamari is basically an MSG sauce, if you will. So if you ever like soy sauce or you ever like tamari, it's basically one approach to get the glutamate, the umami taste in. So if you're going to do tamari, it needs to be organic. If you're having an issue with gluten or you just don't like wheat, then get the gluten-free tamari. It is a cultured or fermented soy, which means it destroys the phytoestrogens, the polyphenols, the daidzein and genistein in it. And you're using it as a seasoning. You're not using a lot. If you're ever going to eat soy, it needs to be organic. It needs to be fermented, cultured. That's like miso, tempeh, natto, tamari. Like, it needs to be broken down. Don't just eat soybeans. Don't eat soy products. Generally don't eat soy. But if you're going to, the list is short. Okay, and then apple cider vinegar or any other vinegar you want to do. We talked about that enough already. Just sparingly and try to move away from it over time. But if you want to have it on occasion, it's fine. Okay, drinks. Water. Water works. We would prefer our water to be cleaner than, so some people will say, oh, but you want the minerals in the water. And I go, I don't want all the minerals in the water. Like Tucson water coming out of the tap has uranium and arsenic in the water. Literally, I see it on hair tests. I don't want to drink that. So, but the other thing is if you use a filter that says it leaves all the minerals in, like Berkey, then you are drinking the good minerals and the bad minerals. When it leaves the minerals in, it leaves all the minerals in. So it's taking out mostly organic toxins, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen-based toxins. So I would rather use, if I'm going to drink water, distilled or reverse osmosis. Now, the thing to know about distilling or reverse osmosis is you are taking out the minerals too, which minerals tend to be alkaline. So by taking out the alkaline minerals, you can make things a little more acidic. So you do need to know that could be a little bit of an issue. This is why I prefer, really the only RO system I talk about is the AquaTrue, and that's AQUATRU, no E at the end. Because they say, and from what I've seen and from what I've tasted, it doesn't change the pH of the water. I don't know how they do it. I literally do not know how they do it. But they're the only company out there that doesn't change the pH of the water. And I just have a countertop system. Yes, it's a pain to fill it up every gallon of water you want, but it tastes amazing, and it doesn't have the pH issue that other RO systems can have. So we got that. And then I don't like those mineralizing systems. If you try to add a mineralizing system to your water, it's going to be adding all sorts of minerals you don't want. So I don't like those. I don't ever use those. Coconut water is an option, especially if you need more potassium. You want something, hydrating, and you want some potassium and some magnesium. Coconut water is a good option. Coconut water, 8 ounces of coconut water is about the same amount of potassium as a banana. Bananas are cheap. Coconut water can get expensive if you're drinking, multiple 8-ounce servings of it a day. It also, there's some research showing it may have a bit of phytoestrogenic activity. So just everything has good and bad to it. So you just got to pick what works for you. I would much rather personally eat bananas. Flat mineral water, yes. If you want to get some calcium, we talked about this in the calcium episode. I prefer flat mineral water. So it's not, and this is just, we're not trying to add a whole bunch of carbonic acid to the system. That's the fizz, right? So we would like it flat. You can buy it with bubbles and then just let it sit, open, and the bubbles will eventually work their way out. But, and if you had to get it while you were out and you didn't have time to defizz it, then you can drink it. It's not that big of a deal. It's just don't be doing it all day long, every day, drinking carbonated water. That's probably not going to be very good for you. And then kefir water, if you choose to do it, if you are kefir water is going to generally be high in lactobacillus. Lactobacillus tends to get along best with ladies. Men tend to do better with more bifido. But if you do well on kefir or kefir water, I'm going to make this statement about probiotic foods. If you want to eat some cultured or fermented or probiotic foods, it's been said that like a forkful of sauerkraut has like anywhere between 20 to 40 capsules worth of probiotics in it. Okay. That's a lot. So do you see why some people, if they ate a bowl of sauerkraut, their gut might get wonky? Like you could put too many good probiotics in and cause yourself problems. So if you want to do, like, let's say you had somebody who's like, well, I feel better when I eat some yogurt on a regular basis. A spoonful or a forkful, or if let's say you're out there and you want to drink kefir water or kombucha or whatever you're choosing to do that helps you feel better, a swig, a spoonful, a forkful, that's all you need. And especially if you're buying it pre-made at the store, that stuff's expensive. So you get to make it go further. It's not going to go bad in your fridge. It's already gone bad, right? So, you just need a little bit. So then if you're doing, let's say you're doing some sort of dairy, cultured dairy, you're only doing a spoonful. So it's not like it's a big dose of vitamin A or vitamin D or any of that stuff. So then it's amounts matter. Dose dependence matters. So, yeah.
Somehow we took condiments and turned them into main courses, like the bowl of the sauerkraut. And, I used to drink a liter of kefir every day. Now I have the swig in the morning, done.
Yes.
And over. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we really turn it into like an industry, right? Because they want to sell you they just want you to drink or eat as much of these things as possible. To always think, I'm not an anti-capitalist at all, but capitalism, they really want you to eat and drink as much of their stuff as possible. And that's why there's all the mega dosing supplements out there. And there's all this stuff of just do more, because, well, if you think about it, it sells more of their stuff. But in a certain way, if it makes you sick, then you're also feeding the medical system. So we're here saying only do as much as you need. Don't take it if it doesn't feel good. Like we're doing the opposite of that approach. And then we're seeing the benefits in people. So,
Indeed. Yeah. All right.
Do you have anything else you want to add, Beth?
No, it looks like we got to the bottom of the list.
We did. Let me turn off the share. So again, we'll put that link to the PDF. I'll save it on my Google Drive and I'll post the link under the video so you guys can download it and have it in your hot little hands. And thank you, Beth, for making that. And thank you for talking to me about doing this show, because we did need an update and we do want to make this simple for people. So folks, if you're wanting to ask, what about this food? What about this food? What about this? I gave you the guidelines. You have been given the tools. So you don't need to like nitpick every little food and be like, is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay? You don't just use the rules of the basics, like the colors and that stuff. So it should be, you should be able to figure it out. That's the goal, is so, we're teaching you how to fish, if you will.
Very good. And since we don't have Joe here, did you want to let people know how they can take you up on your course or consultations or your products?
I'll keep this short since we don't have the big, long Joe listing at the end. But anyway, so my main website, if you guys want to find out more, is nutritiondetective.com. That's where you can find all the stuff that we do. If you're interested in the Love Your Liver program, which is where all of these concepts and principles started from, and if you want to be in a community of people that are all, on the same journey, and you have, veterans who can tell you what worked for them and what didn't, and it's basically what social media should have been without all the trolls and the antagonists and the people yelling in all caps and all that stuff. We don't tolerate any of that nonsense where we're at. So anyway, so there's the community aspect of that. If you want to work with one of our health facilitators, that's the consultation tab is where you want to go on that. You can find all our social media links there. And then there is the Love Your Liver program. If you want to go directly to that, that's members.nutritiondetective.com. It's a one-time fee to join, and then you have lifetime membership to it. And then if you work with one of our facilitators, then you get lifetime access to the Love Your Liver program too, because even if you're doing the testing, we still need you to know the diet. So those are the basics. That's all we'll go over today. We're here on YouTube under Nutrition Detective. We're on Rumble under Nutrition Detective. You can find us on all the social media. Generally, if you're searching for Nutrition Detective, you'll find us. So that's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining. I don't know if anybody's going to be looking for me. Do you mind if I do a quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you can visit my website, bethmartins.com. The best thing to do there, if you only have 10 minutes, is to sign up for a King Hero Archetype quiz, find out where on the path of purpose you are. I do help people to, as Garrett mentioned at the beginning, to take out the programming that stops us from making good choices or stops us from being able to tune in with our own body or makes us, have things that are bad for us just because we have a belief in place. And so that's all the things that I help people with. And that quiz is really good to find out where you're approaching your life from in a way that you might be able to find lost energy, lost purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. And then she has a book too that you can read. And it's when you start going through it, I did the quiz and I was looking at the results and I was like, wow, that really fits me where I'm at and what I'm doing. And it's very cool. I suggest doing it and consider contacting Beth about doing her work with her. I do think it's very valuable, and we are going to be integrating some of it into the Love Your Liver program very soon. So
Very good.
it's exciting. So anyway,
Agreed.
I
Thank you.
think we're ready to wrap it up.
Yeah. I think we went 2 hours, even though we didn't.
I didn't want to. I can't help myself.
All right. It was fantastic. And thank you from me and all my people who are going to enjoy this video.
Yes. Thank you for doing this with me, Beth, and we will see you all next time. Bye now.
Bye for now.